Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Third Floor. My name's Joe, and today we have a video that was inspired by you, our viewers. So in the last video that we made, The Rise and Fall of the Arrowverse, if you haven't seen it, check it out. In that video, we were left a lot of comments asking us questions like, which Arrowverse show is the best? How do MCU shows compare to the Arrowverse? And which superhero show is the best of all time? And it got me thinking, how can I answer all these questions at once? My solution is right here. So here in front of us, we see the official Third Floor superhero TV show tier list. And this tier list has a bit of a twist to it. But before we get too far into this video, I'd like to ask you guys to please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy it. You guys have been on absolute fire lately, giving us views, comments, likes, and we really just want to say we appreciate it so much. Please keep it up. Please keep those conversations going in the comments. We love seeing you guys communicate with both us and the fellow members of the Third Floor. It's been great seeing all those interactions. We can't wait to see more. Without further ado, let's get into it. So you may be asking yourselves, Joe, what's this twist you got going on for the tier list? And basically, it's simple. I didn't want to just see which superhero show was the best. I wanted to see which superhero company was the best. So these point values are given to each company for however many shows they have in that tier. So if Marvel have 3 shows in S tier, they get 12 points. If DC has 5 shows in B tier, they get 10 points. So basically, we're going to take a tally of how many points each company gets at the end of the video. But, to be fair, Marvel has 15 shows on here, while DC has 13. So we're not just going to stop at getting a total, but actually divide them by the numbers and see which company has the best TV show average score. Sound good? Alright, so to get started, I'm going to get some of the shows I haven't seen out of the way. There are 2 of them that I saw off the bat, and we're looking at Stargirl and we're looking at Miss Marvel. These 2 shows have something in common. Their trailers looked horrible. The CGI looked like it was done by a 2-year-old. Their stories looked poor. It didn't seem like they invested in these shows, and I didn't want to invest my time in it if they weren't willing to do the same. So, haven't seen them, don't plan on seeing them, so that's where they're going to stay for right now. So now that we've gotten the shows I haven't seen out of the way, let's get into the shows that I have seen before. The first one up, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this show tears me down the middle, I think. It definitely had a big cult following for a while. It really quickly died off, especially as the Infinity Saga was kind of reaching its climax of popularity. There were so many Marvel shows coming out and so many Marvel movies coming out, we didn't really have time for the agents anymore, in my opinion. And it was good, definitely didn't blow my mind though, so for that reason, I'm going to put it C. I think it's a good, solid show. The episodes kind of kept you engaged. I wasn't jumping out of my seat to go get the next episode, you know? Next on the list, we have Daredevil. Let me just say, this is probably the easiest placement I'm going to have on this list. Daredevil is the pinnacle of superhero TV shows in my opinion. It's entertaining, it's grounded and realistic, it's gritty. I think it has a different feeling to it than most of these other goofy superhero TV shows, whereas Daredevil's a lot more serious, and the acting and the characters are amazing. So Daredevil, easy S tier, probably going to stay in my top S tier. Next up on the list, we have another heavy hitter, Arrow. If you guys watched our last episode, you know I kind of gave Arrow a hard time for its shortcomings, and I really think they had quite a few of those shortcomings, but at the same time, I'm going to come to mine in Arrow's defense, where I've always thought Arrow was a great show. It was the first superhero show I really got invested in, and I think it had some really great moments. I don't know if I can put it in S tier, and it's one of your guys' faults. One of you guys left a comment saying something along the lines of, Arrow had some really high highs that you loved, but the lows were so low that it kind of tainted the rest of the show for you guys. And that's been sticking with me since I read that. So for that reason, I think that's an A tier for me. And a very solid A tier at that. I loved the show, but I don't know if it stacks up next to Daredevil too well. So we'll leave it A. Batwoman. Batwoman's going straight to D for me. Listen, it had some okay moments, but I think it was a lazy story. I didn't like a lot of the characters. I think they waste a lot of opportunities to make this similar to how Arrow and Daredevil were darker shows. they could have moved towards that light, but it was just so goofy. From the costumes to the acting, it was a goofy show. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I could never get into it. It was definitely it was definitely hard for me to get through the show. I was not looking forward to the next episode. So easy D tier. Next up on the list, Doom Patrol. So this one's tough for me because I talked to fellow third floor member Jake, and he really sold this one to me. He was like, Doom Patrol is unique. It's different. It definitely had a lot of cool characters, and they had a lot of famous actors go behind the scenes and voice act for this show. And he really made a case for Doom Patrol. But as much as I agree that it's unique and I like the character choices and the acting is good, it's still goofy with poor CGI, and the story is not great and not fully fleshed out. And while there is some great emotion and shows some depth to these really goofy characters, I cannot qualify that as a B show, knowing that there are going to be some really good shows I'm going to put up there in that category. So Doom Patrol is going to stay in C for me. Soon to be joining those two shows, we got Luke Cage. Luke Cage, I enjoyed the first season. Second season got really old. It's just a character who can't be destroyed, basically. They lost their mojo after they used those like twisty bullets that could penetrate his skin. And you're like, oh man, he can get hurt now. Past that, this guy doesn't offer too much. He's kind of a boring character. I love that actor. I think they picked him well. I just wish they would have given him a little bit more entertaining stories. And then I think it would have bumped him up at least one notch, maybe two. Moving on to Hawkeye. This is kind of the opposite of Luke Cage. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this because I didn't think I was going to like the character Kate Bishop. But in the end, it was her relationship with Hawkeye that really sold her to me. And I think that puts it at a B. Hawkeye was entertaining. The show was cool. We got to see the street level crime in New York City in a different light than, say, in Daredevil and Punisher. We got to see a bunch of criminals go against these main event superheroes that might not get to see them usually, like Kingpin against Hawkeye. I haven't seen that before, so I thought it was cool. Entertaining, it was silly, but it was funny, so yeah, B. I enjoyed watching it. Jessica Jones, underrated TV show. Definitely underrated. The first season with Kilgrave as the villain, that psychological villain that could control her, really cool. Thoroughly enjoyed it. When we started getting to second and third season where they had those Powerpuff inhalers that would give you super strength, and she found her mom, and her mom was basically like, I'm an animal. I'm out of control. It started losing me there, but I love the actress who plays Jessica Jones. I think the character comes off really well on TV as well. So it's definitely above a C for me. I don't know if I can justify it being on Arrow's level. I'm going to give it top of B for right now. I'm going to put it top of B because I think it deserves to be there. I think she does enough, Jessica Jones. Next up on the list, we have... Oh, God. Next up is Iron Fist. Earlier I said putting Daredevil S tier was my easiest decision. I lied. Iron Fist, D. I wish I could do it over and over again. I wish I made more categories to go below D for Iron Fist. I did not like Iron Fist, and I could almost solely contribute that fact to the fact that that actor who played Danny made him so incredibly unlikable that he came across as a villain in this show. Like, he would just whine about everything. He'd complain. He was horrible to watch. It made me frustrated to watch this show. If I had $1 for every time this idiot sat there and looked constipated as he tried to make his fist work, I'd be a millionaire by now. And just, don't even get me started how at the end of season 2, he moved his constipation powers from his fist to like a weapon next to him, and it worked. Just, the show was not good. The acting was not good. His power was lame. Doesn't come across well on TV, at least in this show. Just Iron Fist, easy D. And now listen, I'm going to preface it for this show and the next show we're about to rank. I know you guys like some of these shows. I'm not saying you can't like this show. I'm just saying, me personally, Joe from the third floor, I don't like it. Okay? So don't come at me. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Moving on to... Oh, God. I apologize in advance. All right. Moving on to Legends of Tomorrow. I know you guys love this show. I know. Before you guys start beating up on me, I feel you. It was a charming, goofy, funny show at the start, but that lasted a few episodes before I was sick of it. I have to put it bottom of D. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm going to put Legends at the bottom of C, though. I know a lot of you guys said it's an intentionally goofy show. That's great and all. It's just, it started off trying to be like, play off its goofiness, be like, we're hip now. We're making fun of ourselves. But in the end, realistically, I think all of us were making fun of the show rather than the other way around. So just, I didn't like it. I think the actor they had for the captain in the first season was horrible. I think a lot of the actors they hired past the first season were horrible. It's just CGI, second grade level. Yeah, it's not good. Not good for me. But if it makes you feel better, we're about to go a little bit worse. We're going to look at She-Hulk, and we have a new... Oh, do I dislike She-Hulk more than Danny Rand? Oh, yes I do. Yes I do. I'm not going to say the show is... No, I am. The show's worse than Iron Fist. And one of the big things I have against She-Hulk is how they treated Daredevil. My man, up in S tier. They gave him a mustard yellow suit, which I know, it's comic accurate. I don't care about the comics. The dark red suit worked on TV. We're looking for TV dramatization, whatever you want to call it. I can't speak. We're looking for what works on TV. And this darker version of Daredevil works. We don't want yellow Daredevil. At least I don't. And then past that, it was just goofy. I didn't want the celebrity cameos. I didn't want the twerking. She-Hulk could have been a really interesting character, and they really, really watered it down. Just did not like She-Hulk. Moving on to The Flash, a show I definitely laid into in our last episode. This show had some shortcomings. This definitely had some rough patches. And as opposed to Arrow, which I think they had 4 good seasons out of the 8, The Flash had 3 tops out of their 9 now. And, I'm tempted to do something drastic here, but in deference to the show, I know it deserves respect. At one point, it drew 4.5 million people per episode. So, I mean, for that reason, and how good the first 2 seasons were, I'm going to put it A tier. I think it deserves it. I think I'd watch it over a lot of these shows underneath. So, Flash will be A tier, but let me just say this now. Any other A tier shows, they're probably going to push it further back. That's just my opinion. Moving on next to Defenders. I wanted to love this show. I thought it had really, really good potential. It just let me down. Like, it wasn't horrible. I'm not going to say it was bad. It should have been better than it was. Danny Rand was in it, so minus 10 points there. Danny Rand's the worst. Then the group mixed all right. Like, they had an okay dynamic, especially in that restaurant scene where they're all eating food before the hand attacks. I'm like, that was a great episode. I enjoyed that. But a lot of their story just didn't make sense. Like, just go look at the finale where Daredevil decides to let a building fall on him rather than asking his superpowered friends, hey, can you knock out my ex-girlfriend and help me carry her out of the building? Like, I don't get it. Defenders really let me down. I had high expectations, but hey, what are you going to do? They can't all be winners. Moon Knight. This is a tough one because it was really... Oops, that was not where I'm putting it. Moon Knight was good. Moon Knight had a lot of different things that they did as opposed to a lot of these shows. I'm going to put it top of B, I think. I think the CGI was leaps and bounds better than the rest. I think it was unique. I think they had great actors. It's just, it was slow. It definitely... I don't know. It was a weird show. It had a lot of twists and turns where you thought it'd be like a slow, methodical build, but a lot of times those twists and turns didn't pay off too much. Now, the flashbacks to him and his brother, yeah, those were great. That was a great reveal. But, when the show ended with 2 giant CGI Egyptian gods fighting each other, it lost a lot of points for me. So, Moon Knight, B tier. Loki. I don't know if you guys are going to like what I'm going to do here. Loki's going mid-A for me. Loki, again, like Jessica Jones, underrated. The first few episodes of the show, slow. but they have a nice build to it, a lot of character development. The last 3 or 4 episodes of the show, fantastic. If we were judging this show based on the last few episodes, it's S tier. Easy S tier for me. When he gets to see all of his doppelgangers and, have some growth where he's like, ugh, I hate being around myself. I'm miserable. I was like, oh, that's so creative. What a great way to show that. Loki deserves a lot more credit, and I hope season 2 builds off of that. But yeah, Loki, A tier, easy money. Agent Carter. For all you Legends of Tomorrow fans, you're going to love this. Going behind Legends of Tomorrow in C tier. Listen, Peggy Carter, great character. Great actress who plays her. I think she should have had her own show, and I think it should have been better than it was. The show's quality was low. The show's timing was poor. We had the MCU at its rip-roaring best. We had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going at the same time. So people had so many shows to watch. Nobody's going to add a mediocre one to the list as well, no matter how good the main character is. So it was mediocre. It should have been better than it was. She deserves better than what it was, but for that, I can't go off what she deserves. Just what it was a really average show. Moving on to What If. What If is displacing The Flash again. Now, usually these shows that are like kind of split up, I hate them. I want a nice continuous story. But in the end, What If kind of became that. What If made this really unique, creative story that I didn't expect, and I really appreciated how it took a different approach than most TV shows. And one other thing I really enjoyed, if we got rid of every episode except the Marvel Zombies, I still would put it A probably. I think Marvel Zombies was one of the most creative ideas they've done, and really, really well done. I really enjoyed it, and I hope the show that they're making, Marvel Zombies, is as good as the little sneak peek we got here. But yeah, What If surprised me. A tier. Titans. I feel like I smirk at the camera every time I'm going to make a questionable decision. But Titans, for me, underrated slightly. Underrated. I'm going to put it bottom B. And just hear me out. Titans is a more adult-centric superhero show, so we older people can enjoy it. It's serious. It has some really good emotional tones. It makes you think. And it kind of balances out the poor acting and maybe some poor special effects as well. But if we're being real with each other, I'd rather watch this show than all of these underneath. I really enjoyed Hawk and Dove, especially in this show. Like these beat up superheroes that have no powers and they're just old and jaded, and just watching them and see what it would be like to be a superhero who just, that's all you know, but you're beat up and you hate your life. It was just really interesting. I thought it was creative. So Titans get B tier for me. Peacemaker. Peacemaker shocked the world, I think. People know what to expect from James Gunn, but I don't think most people thought he would reach the heights with this show that he did. It was heartfelt, it was emotional, it was funny. I think John Cena put in a great performance despite, he wasn't always an actor, but he did really good. The episode where he had to fight his dad and how sad he was and all the emotion he was able to express, beautiful. James Gunn did a really good job with this, even though at times I think there was too many James Gunn mannerisms, like the type of humor and maybe the unwarranted humor at times. James Gunn does a lot of things I like, but a few things I dislike. And you definitely notice both of those categories in this show. But even despite that, Peacemaker was really, really enjoyable, and it's getting mid-level A tier for me. Up next is WandaVision. I know this is a really well-liked show. I know a lot of people like Wanda, and they want to support everything she's in. It's just the show was so obvious what they were doing. We all know who the villain was going to be, even if there was like a slight twist with two-ish villains. But, it's just boring. Like, I don't think the slow build had a payoff to it. It was just slow for the sake of being slow. And I got really bored watching this show. Legends crew, I'm sorry. I'm going to still put it above Legends and Agent Carter, but I wouldn't be furious if these two are switched, Legends and WandaVision. But just to make you guys mad, I'm going to keep it that way. Supergirl. Supergirl I'm going to put behind Legends, and here's why. They're similar in the poor CGI, poor storytelling, and low budget, basically. But what Supergirl doesn't have, that Legends does have, is that really nice chemistry of the main cast. The main cast of Legends, despite not being the best actors, they have a nice give and take. Supergirl and her main cast, or her supporting cast, I guess, just I don't get the same charisma. I don't get the same give and take. It's just slightly more cringy show, if that's even possible. So yeah, Supergirl, C tier for me. Gotham. Gotham is either low B or high C for me. Gotham deserves a lot of credit, in my opinion. I'm going to put it low B just right now so I can think. But Gotham easily could have been the worst show on this list because they kind of wrote themselves into a corner. They're like, what's the best part about Gotham City? Batman. Get rid of him. What's the second best part about Gotham City? All the great villains. They're like, let's make them super young, super weird, and make them very unlikable. Check, check, check. So they got rid of everything that made Batman work. And they still made a show that was really compelling. It was all about Jim Gordon and how he's not just this perfect angel of a person. He's actually really 50-50, where he has this light side that's really thirsty for justice, and this dark side that he can't always control, and he kind of bends the rules. And seeing how that comes together and how it plays on how they play on each other was really interesting. So Gotham gets a lot of credit from me, and I've convinced myself. Gotham, bottom B. Smallville. I'm gonna be real with you guys. It's been years since I've seen Smallville. I hardly remember any of it. I know I didn't dislike it. I think the difference between the bottom of C and D is D tier made me mad when I was watching. Like, it actively infuriated me. C tier, I might have had to work through the episodes to get to the end, but I wasn't mad. I wasn't like, I just want this to be over. So I'm going to put Smallville at the bottom of C just for the fact that I couldn't tell you one plot point. I hardly remember it. All I remember is I didn't hate it. So bottom C sounds fair to me. Next up, Black Lightning. Black Lightning is about to be done dirty for me, and I'll tell you why. Black Lightning came out when I was already burnt out about the Arrowverse. Arrow was hitting its really slow points. Flash had already let me down years ago, and Legends of Tomorrow, you know how I feel about that show. So I had all these shows that I originally liked. They all started letting me down, and then they made this new one. And I was like, oh, come on. You're going to make me watch another Arrowverse show that I'm going to end up disliking eventually anyway. So I started watching it, and I was let down just like I was in the other shows. And it didn't have the same buy-in as Arrow or The Flash because the first season wasn't nearly as good as those two shows. So while I might be being harsh just because the timing of when it was released, I'm going to put it mid-C. Yeah, that seems fair. Punisher. Punisher's tough for me, and I'll tell you why. I think I already mentioned Jake in this episode, but talking to Jake again yesterday, he said, do you really think Punisher is an instant S tier? And I was like, yeah, obviously, why? And he said, well, season 1 was great, but did you really think season 2 was that good? I had to stop and think. The second season of Daredevil, where Punisher was in, was fantastic. The first season of The Punisher itself, fantastic. The second season of Punisher was not as good, I gotta be honest. I think they really did a poor job with Jigsaw. He just looked like the same handsome man with a few scars on his face. I hated the Shrink storyline with her and Jigsaw. It just really slowed down the show. Did nothing to build up that villain. And yeah, the second season was not that good. It really wasn't. But in comparing Punisher the character in this show, in comparison to the main characters in these A-tier shows, I still think Punisher's better. Leaps and bounds better than those. So Punisher gets S tier for me. I think it'd be a disservice to put it any lower. Punisher as a character has already proven to be better used than the rest of these characters on this list, besides Daredevil, I guess. And to finish off the list, we have Superman and Lois. Now, this is one of the shows that I haven't seen completely. I believe I'm halfway through season 2, and I was told season 2 is like the worst season, and I think that might mean I don't have as bad a taste in my mouth as some of you guys do. So I still think kind of positively about this show. I hate some of their casting choices, but I think somehow the show works. So I'm going to put it mid B. I don't like Lois Lane's casting. I think her two children's casting, those actors annoy the daylights out of me. But somehow, some way, this really goofy looking show ends up working a lot better than a lot of the other predecessors from the Arrowverse. So Superman and Lois will go middle. So after looking at my list, I think I'm going to make one change. After looking at the bottom 3 TV shows in D tier, I want to have 3 in S tier now, just to be balanced. So I'm going to take one of these A tier shows and move it up. So The Flash is nowhere near S tier. In fact, it's closer to B than it is S. Peacemaker's good. Peacemaker's a decent shout. I think Peacemaker would likely go up more than What If. And then Loki, half of Loki's S tier. The other half is A to B. I can't put it up. And then Arrow. Alright, for the sake of overall enjoyment, for length of success, and the impact of the show, I think it has to be Arrow to be round up the S tier shows. And then Loki can head up to A tier. Yeah, I think that's good. Arrow deserves a lot of credit. It's kind of the first of these shows. It really got the ball rolling. It was trend-setting. It was different. And I loved it. I loved Arrow. Despite how critical I've been. Arrow is an S tier for me. I like this a lot more. Alright, so that is my list. So it's time to do some math. Okay, the ballot is in. The votes have been calculated. So let's see what the two companies got for a score. So, starting with DC, they had a total score of 21 points. So DC, after all these point values, have 21 total points. Marvel, with all their TV shows, have a total score of 25. So Marvel has the higher overall score, but they do have more TV shows on this list. So, using some mathematics in my big brain, we're going to find the average score for each company. So the average score for DC is 1.6. So the average TV show rating is between a C and a B, like a C+. For Marvel, their average rating is a 1.6. So again, a C+. So we have a draw here, which is honestly shocking. Let me whip out my calculator again to see if there's any separation between the two. Okay, it's official. We do have some separation thanks to some decimal points. So, in first place with a higher overall score by 0.4 is Marvel with 1.64 whatever else is their average score. DC with around 1.601 for their overall average score. So technically, Marvel wins, but in reality, it's like a draw. And it makes sense to me. I think DC has a few more high-quality shows, while Marvel's bulk is in C for me. Like, a lot of Marvel is mediocre, but then their big saving grace are their two bigs right here, Punisher and Daredevil. So I think that kind of adds up. It kind of makes sense in my brain. Like, Marvel had two big plus zeros that almost nullified their numerical advantage. So, yeah, it makes sense. And I do think that's fair. I think as bad as DC and Arrowverse gets as a rep, Marvel has some stinkers. Like Iron Fist. I dislike Iron Fist so much. Iron Fist is down there as one of the worst. She-Hulk too. I mean, I don't want to say too much about She-Hulk because I know it's gotten really abused this year. But bad. So, yeah, it makes sense. I think it's fair. If you guys wanted me to pick right now which company was best amongst all their shows, I would have to go with Marvel. As much as I like these DC shows, with Punisher and Daredevil, Loki and What If, those big four right up here, I think that would take the cake with most. I would miss Arrow, I'd miss Peacemaker, Flash, hit or miss, I guess I'd miss it, but yeah, I think I couldn't go wrong with these four Marvel shows. So Marvel's the big winner for me from this. Even though they barely won by a few decimal points, I do agree with the ranking. So that's our official third floor superhero TV show tier list. We have Daredevil as the best TV show, Marvel as the best company, and then you see the few stinkers that I really don't like. Let me know in the comments what you think about this tier list. Do you agree? Would you change things around? What would your tier list look like? Please let us know in the comments, and please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate your support. We'll catch you next time.